Good evening, and welcome to the Thursday, July 9th, 2020 South Haven Planning Commission meeting. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Before we get started, just want to remind everybody, since we have a relatively new setup for conducting a meeting during this time, be patient. If you're calling in, and as a reminder, and at the bottom of the screen, the call-in number is 637-0777. We can accept, I think, about 8 callers at a time. So if we have 8 people call in and you're the 9th, you will hear a busy signal and you'll have to call back. The important part is that do not call in until we have the item you want to discuss as an active agenda item. Next, I'm going to set a time limit tonight of 2.5 hours. At the end of 2.5 hours, whatever items are left on the agenda, what I would like to have somebody do is make a motion to postpone those items until a week from tonight. It's Thursday, is it the 15th? 16th. So we'll make a motion to postpone to the 16th any remaining items. Maybe we'll get through them all, maybe not, but that's our backup plan for this evening. And I think with that, we can get started. The first item on our agenda is the roll call.
Clark Gruber,
Here.
Larry Heinig,
Here.
Todd Heinrich,
Here.
Michael Neese,
Here.
Amy Nichols,
Here.
Rosalie Placati,
Here.
George Sleeper,
Here.
Janice Varney, Tim Stegman.
Here. Next up, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I have a question of staff, if I may, first.
Okay.
Should not the adjournment be an item on the agenda?
Is it missing?
That is correct.
Okay, item 14 then.
Okay, so we're going to add item 14A, adjournment. Good catch, Larry. I didn't even see that one.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the agenda as printed with the addition of item 14, adjournment.
14A, adjournment. Is there support
Wait a minute.
Second.
Where is 14?
On the back.
on the back?
Oh, thank you.
Is
It's short-term rental, so it's the short part of the page.
there short part? That's right. Was there support?
Second?
Okay, Clark seconded. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All-
Should that be a roll call?
No, I don't believe so.
We're off
Does
of
it?
all.
No.
We're off of everything being roll call then, thank you.
Okay. All opposed? Motion carries. All right, next up, we have the June 4th minutes for approval.
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple of changes that I think we should, or corrections we should make on that before the motion is made. On page 4 of the agenda, item 7, second paragraph that begins with Heinrich, the second sentence starts with Hosier responded that the city has not done any disclosure because the current remediation is not included in the area that is being remediated. I think that should read, Hosier responded the city has not done any disclosure because the current rezoning is not included in the area that is undergoing remediation.
I'm sorry, Larry, I'm not sure where you are.
Page 4 of 229.
Item
Item
7,
7,
229 Elkenberg, rezoning.
second paragraph,
Okay.
second sentence. I would replace the first remediation with rezoning.
Current rezoning is not included in the area?
That is being remediated. Yeah. and on page 11 of 229. Under staff and commissioner comments, the second paragraph, which begins with Heinig, I believe should begin with Heinrich. I didn't talk about myself. That's what called my attention to it.
Okay.
With that, Mr. Chairman, I will move to approve the minutes of June 4th, 2020 regular meeting with those two corrections.
Mr. Chair, I have an addition to the minutes as well. So he's
Okay.
just made a motion, so I don't know what you want.
I will withdraw my motion.
Okay. I just want to add under my comments that I was disappointed in the outcome of the Wilson Street special use permit. That I was disappointed in the outcome of the Wilson Street special use permit. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I will now move approval of the minutes of June 4 with the 3 corrections noted.
Okay. Is there support?
Support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. Is there any other discussion? One discussion item, Marcia, I imagine with those 3 items, you'll go back and check the record and just verify, correct? Okay. Prior to including them, and if there's a issue that maybe it wasn't said that way and the minutes you created were accurate, then we would expect not to change it, so, okay. All in favor of approving the minutes with those 3 items being looked into, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next up, we will hear from citizens in the audience that'll be heard on items not on the agenda. I don't see anybody in the audience right now physically, but if you want to call in about items not on this agenda, now is the time. We will have, I don't know, what, about a minute to let you call in? Maybe a little longer, so please call in now. And once again, the number is 637-0777. Okay, no callers. So we'll move on to item 6. And actually, these next 3 items are kind of related and they're in the same scope. This one is 11 Chippewa Drive. We're going to review a site plan for the permanent shoreline revetment system upgrades. So with that, Brad will give us a quick review.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you guys all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Mrs. Ann Smith and Miss Ann Moffett has submitted an application for planning commission review on behalf of the Moffetts at 11 Chippewa Court. This application is in regard to the further re-engineering of the bluff revetment structure that presently exists on the site. The Moffetts have contracted Aben Marsh Engineering to perform the analysis and design of the new structure. This addition adds to the temporary structure that was approved by the Planning Commission in the December 2019 meeting and was installed in January of 2020. The intention is to elevate the armor stone riprap wall that currently exists to the height of 599 feet above sea level. The installation of the additional will include an additional 260 cubic yards of this armor stone along the length of the wall. This will sufficiently provide the necessary measures to stabilize the bluff from the elevated water levels and damage caused by recent storms and flooding along Lake Michigan. And tonight we have Mr. Michael Morphy, who is an engineer from Aben Marsh Engineering. He's the project lead on the next two items. He has agreed to step in tonight for Ms. Smith from Aben Marsh to talk about this project as well.
Okay. We'll invite you up to the podium.
All right, thank you for having me. I'm going to leave this on unless it causes any issues. Yeah, so we're here to seek your permission to proceed with the work that's been proposed on the Moffett property. As Mr. Cordoba explained, we added stone to what was already on that bluff over the winter, expecting that it was going to get a lot worse on an interim basis, expecting that we'd come back with a long-term plan. And we've worked with the Moffetts, worked through preliminary engineering, evaluated a number of different potential designs, and based upon their goals, costs, level of risk, we've come to the design that's been submitted to you today. So we come to seek your permission. We're also working with state and federal agencies, and then I believe we're going to be coming before the Harbor Commission as well.
Okay, thank you. Do any of the commissioners have any questions?
I do, Mr. Chairman. I note on your plan here that you talk about getting permission from the city and for the neighbor to tie into their existing. Has that permission been granted? What's your status with that?
The status is we're looking for approval contingent upon those two things.
I see. Okay.
With regard to the neighbor to the south, which is the Krupps, we'll be talking with them about interfacing with the revetment that they just completed. As you may or may not know, any coastal protection system, it's best to be consistent with your neighbors rather than stop, start, stop, start. Ever since this winter when we sought interim permissions, we intended to tie into their revetment, or they intended to tie into the Moffett revetment, depending on how the sequence laid out. So the intent is to create a plane that ties into the Krupp side. On the north side, we have Beaver Court, and because of the way that the property lines align with the slope, i.e. it's not perpendicular, we've got a bit of a challenge where the top part of the Moffett revetment depends in part upon the low part of the Beaver Court revetment. So we're proposing to place some stone over parts of the city's right-of-way where some stone is already present there.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
I have a question.
Rosalie?
Brad, is there any talk that the city is going to work on the city property there with revetments to the north?
I have not spoken with Mike Dopp, the city engineer, about that yet, but as Mr. Morphy has stated, they are working with filling in applications and getting that process moving with the city.
Is that going to be a problem for you if the city doesn't move fast enough to the north?
It's just going to restrict what we can do at the north end of that property. And I'm happy to, reach out and speak with Mr. Dopp as well.
Oh, I'm sure.
Even if there's a city need there, we've got some drone footage and some other things that may be a benefit to the city as well.
And I know you did a temporary for the winter
Right.
and with plans on coming back. Did that work for you, or?
It actually held up pretty well
Did it?
over the winter. Of course, just laying stone from the top of the revetment, it ends up, reaching its own angle of repose. And as that gets attacked by waves, it's going to move a bit, which is why we're seeking to add armor stone to the top of that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else?
Chairman, one of the questions that Williams and Works had suggested is access. Do we know how you're going to be gaining access to the site with the bluffs and the dunes the way they are?
So as of right now, the Moffetts are working on finalizing an agreement with the contractor. That contractor is Compton in town here. Compton, I believe, is planning to attempt to complete the project by bringing in a crane and lowering some of that material down, dumping some of the material over the bluff as they did in the interim plan, and then as needed to bring in a barge to supplement the work at the lower half of that bluff. That's not to say that we may eventually need to come back and look for permissions to use a ramp that goes north of Beaver Street at some point. I think we're hopeful not to do that, but I think the current plan is to use a crane and potentially some supplemental barge work.
Okay, and Brad, from everything you've heard, that seems to be some of the least restrictive ways of gaining access up and down. We've got multiple projects that have been going on, and a lot of times coming in from the water, and then, a crane is going to allow them to reach up and over and not hopefully mess with the sensitivity of what's going on right now.
It seems to be the most
Okay.
reasonable way to install it, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further questions? Are there any callers on this one? No. Okay. Well, with that, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, do we still need to open and close a public hearing?
I don't think this was a public hearing.
No, it was not
Yeah.
a public
It would
hearing.
not- okay.
Yeah, we don't need a public hearing for these. We just need approval from the
Right.
commissions.
I would make a motion then to approve the site plan for permanent shoreline revetment system upgrades to 11 Chippewa Drive and include the staff recommendations number 1 and number 2.
Second. Okay, it's been moved and supported. Any other discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would wish to amend the motion, adding an item number 3, agreement with the city and the Krups to the south to tie this project with the existing projects.
Okay, is there support?
Second?
Any other discussion on the amendment? All in favor of the amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Amendment carries. Now we're back to the original motion as amended. Is there any other discussion?
I was just going to point out that it's Chippewa Court and not Drive for the minutes.
That's correct, yeah. That was my mistake.
Okay. Anything else? All in favor of the motion as amended, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next up, item 7, 410 River Island Drive. Brad?
Okay.
Oh, I was getting ready to do
Okay,
that.
Mr. Michael Morphy of Evan Marsh Engineering, whom you've already met, has submitted an application for Planning Commission review on behalf of Mr. Dustin and Andrea Hall, residents of 410 River Island Drive. This application is in regards to re-engineering the shoreline structure that currently exists on site. Mr. and Mrs. Hall have contracted Evan Marsh Engineering to perform the analysis and design of this new structure. The intention is to install a sheet pile wall on site to aid with the retention of soils and to minimize transmission of river water and groundwater on the property. This will sufficiently provide enough necessary measures to stabilize the shoreline from the elevated water levels of the Black River.
Okay.
All right, we'll start again.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the Halls own a home located on River Island Drive. They've had issues for a number of years, beginning in around 2015, 2016, with the rise in the Black River. They've got some landscape retaining walls built of timbers that surround their home for the most part. Adjacent to those timbers, they used to have a lawn area that they could actually utilize between that wall and the water. Well, the water is up to their wall now. And as that water comes up and down with surge conditions or rainfall events, weather conditions, that water is getting behind their landscape wall and taking with it fine-grained soils. So they're losing the material from behind that wall. Their stairs have sunk. They no longer have any usable area riverward of that wall. The idea here is to prevent what may damage eventually their home by building the sheet pile wall as close to, as feasible, the existing timber wall. The idea, again, is to retain that material, fill it with some aggregate, and try to prevent the loss of those fines moving forward. In addition, the Halls, I believe, plan to build a deck atop that structure so they have access to all sides of their house. And that's probably not the most critical component of the plan, but certainly a driver for it.
Okay, are there any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
I walked down there. Currently, there's, it looks like there's, this place is to park a boat on the riverside of this property. And this is on the reverse side. Is there a plan with a wall there, a new vertical wall, to put, to dredge that and have it so their boat could be kept on the backside?
I'm glad you asked that. This is a little bit different one for us. Normally when we do sheet pile walls, it's for coastal protection, retaining, or for a marina, for instance. In this case, it's more of a hydraulic wall. We're building it upland. We don't plan to do any dredging. It's not going to be used for mooring. It's really just to separate that river water, that flood area, from the backfill that supports the foundation of their home.
There'll be tiebacks into, like,
There won't be on this one, because there actually isn't a lot of lateral force on this wall. It's more intended to prevent fines from finding their way to the river.
thank you.
Anyone else?
Just a comment, my father-in-law's boat slot is right across the street from both these properties, and we've been mentioning for years, I wonder what's going to happen, and ta-da. So,
Well, what is interesting in that area, a lot of those pilings that went in, the sheet piles, when we had low water, the tiebacks weren't what everybody thought they were, and the walls started to close out. But with the high water, you have all that static pressure against it to keep it in form, so. All right, let's just move on with the, entertain a motion for item 7.
I'll make a motion to approve the site plan for 410 River Island Drive with the contingent upon the recommendations from staff, number 1 and number 2.
Is there support?
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now we'll move on to item 8, 412 River Island Drive.
Okay, 412 River Island Drive is also another Abbott Marsh project submitted by the gentleman here. That is here again on behalf of the Hall's neighbor, Mr. Combs, who is resident at 412 River Island Drive. The applications regarding the same thing, a shoreline structure that currently exists on site, and they are performed, or they have been contracted to perform the analysis and design of this new structure as well. The intention is to install another sheet pile wall on site to aid with the retention of the soils and minimize transmission of the water, groundwater and river water on the property.
Okay,
All right, so this is basically the same purpose, a little bit different issues on that site. On the Combs site, we've already lost a big chunk of material from the bend in the boardwalk that's there. I'm not sure if you saw it there, Mr. Heinrich, but they've got it roped off. It's an area that was previously maintained as grass, a safety hazard if anybody were to step into that. So what we're proposing to do here is drive sheet piling on the landward side of the timber boardwalk that exists already. So this will not be used for mooring. We don't have any dredging planned. This, again, is just trying to keep the soil on site where we need it. This one, because of its relationship with the state of Michigan conservation easement, we've been dealing with the conservation easement representative at the state, who's been out and seen the site, as well as other Eagle agents. After a bit of discussion, they're okay with the plan. We have some conditions to finalize with them, a couple of signs that call out the conservation easement and minimizing the amount of fill that we place. But we're confident that we're basically through that process at this point, and ready to move forward. We've actually requested bids from contractors so that once we achieve the city's approval, we can begin to get this thing going. So we've also been in discussion with the Army Corps, and have already applied for a county soil erosion permit as well on this one.
Anybody have any questions about this project? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the site plan for 412 River Island Drive with the conditions contained in items number 1 and 2 of the staff report.
Okay. Is there support?
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, motion carries. All right, so from here, you're off to what, Harbor Commission?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they will be presenting at Harbor Commission on the 21st.
Okay, that's the next stop.
Okay. Thanks for your time.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Let me get caught up in my hard copies here.
Page 99.
All right, so item 9 is the Island Harbor Condominium PUD Amendment Revocation.
Yes, as many of you may remember, back in November of 2019, the Planning Commission supported and approved an amendment to the Island Harbor Condominium PUD, which is actually at the other end of the same location as the River Island Drive there. At the time, what the amendment was proposing to do was presently there's 4 lots on site. The 2 end lots had been developed and homes had been constructed. One of the property owners on one of the interior lots wished to sell the parcel to the remaining property owners. They asked if they could amend their master deed to absorb that parcel and then redraw the interior boundary lines so it would equate to 3 parcels. It was passed in November by the Planning Commission, and it was approved by City Council in January of 2020. At the end of May, Mr. Scott Carlson, who is the head of the Island Harbor Association, contacted me here at the city and requested that his neighbor had changed his mind, basically, and is planning on constructing a home. So he has requested that we revoke the approval. The reason that we are revoking this approval is because after the councils approve the amendment, his legal team have to draft up the new master deed amendment, send it to the county to be accepted and approved, and then return to the city. And Nick, you may chime in here in a second just to make sure that I got that correctly. Mr. Carlson's group never did carry through with that. So the county has no record. Nothing has been changed on their master deed, and nothing at the county has been altered in reference to tax IDs or tax purposes. So he's basically asking if we can just revoke this agreement for an amendment to the PUD and go from there.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? And as a reminder, if anybody wants to call in on this item, now's the time for agenda item 9.
I have a question. How often does something like this happen where something is revoked? You guys put a lot of time into this.
I've never received a revocation.
Okay.
Just-
All righty,
It is rare.
okay.
Anybody else?
There's, yeah, just a question on, there is no consequence to the city of revoking it, just the time lost and what was done.
Yep. Wasted our time. All right, we don't have any call-ins, so I'll entertain a motion.
Yes, I'll move that we approve the request to revoke the approval of the proposed Island Harbor condominium PUD. And there is no address or anything, is this like,
It was applied under 502
Okay.
River Island Drive, but again, it is multiple units, so
So
I
to-
can give you the actual addresses
that's all
for
right, to
them.
continue my motion at 502
Okay.
River Island Drive.
Is there support?
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Now we'll move on to item 10. Item 10 is a zoning ordinance, section 601.16 and section 601.20, amendments. Text amendment to remove by special land use from each section item to create a use by right per MEDC RRC compliance recommendation.
Yes, that is correct. I'm not sure how familiar all of you are with MEDC's RRC program. It's Redevelopment Ready Communities. It's been active now for a few years in the state of Michigan, and city can apply to the RRC program. And what this does, if a city becomes certified as a redevelopment ready community, it will open itself up to receive economic development funding from the MEDC. One of their suggestions, the city of South Haven has applied. It has been preliminarily reviewed, the application has, and what they do is they go through, they review all documentation in the city, such as the zoning ordinance and the master plan. One of the suggestions that did come back from the RRC to mesh or mend, I guess you could say, the intentions of what the master plan, as it was adopted in 2018, is to allow residential in the central business district as a use by right instead of by special land use. So what I did when I went through and amended this, or wrote this amendment out, as you all may look in your packets here, basically removing the words by special land use from each of those sections, section 16 and section 20. Section 16 refers to residences above a commercial operation that is, a legal land use commercial operation in the city. Section 20 deals with multifamily buildings that has at least one unit on the ground floor. And there also is a stipulation with that was amended back in 2017, if any of you were here at that time, that multifamily buildings can only, or cannot be located on Phoenix, Broadway, and I believe Center with units on the ground floor. So that's what we are proposing. Are there any questions?
Yes, does it have any impact on the approval process of any development that would go down or be desired down there?
What it would do is it would just open up a building owner or of any of the properties down there. There are presently several properties down there that have a second floor that is empty. And we have been approached by a few of them that they would like to open it up for an apartment or two to build up there, and they are allowed to do that right now. However, they have to go through a special land use process, similar to what we did last month, only this one for residential purposes. So by RRC recommendation, and even by the master plan that was adopted in 2018, it was suggested that we remove that and just allow it by right.
So there would not be a special use public
Correct.
hearing and an approval by the planning commission?
Correct, Larry.
And then by right, they would just simply work with staff, and as long as they met all the specifications that are already set up by the city, we wouldn't even see it.
That's correct. That's correct.
And that's why, and it's only in this CBD, right?
It's
So
only in the central business district. Yep.
I can see the point of that.
We do need to hold a public hearing for this, so next month there will be a public hearing regarding this. But we just wanted to bring it forward and open it up for any discussion right now with all of you, just to introduce it to you.
Anybody have any further questions right now?
No questions.
No. Okay. Are there any call-in questions?
There are none at this time. We still have about 30 or 45 seconds to go if you want to wait that long.
Yeah, we'll wait.
Okay. There are no callers at this time.
Okay, then we will leave this item for the next meeting, for the public
Correct.
hearing.
August 6th, yes.
Okay, August 6th, public hearing. Next item on our agenda is item 11, the RRC zoning ordinance compliance updates.
Again, this has to deal with the RRC program again. What this is, I was approached by Ms. Hosier and the DDA director about a month ago to review these questions that are coming back from MEDC regarding our documentation here, such as the zoning ordinance and the master plan. The first item here, the item 11, deals specifically with the review and then my responses to the zoning ordinance questions that they had. I'm not going to go through all of them. It's, as long as you have it. However, what it does, just to describe it briefly, is each of those questions that were identified or asked by the MEDC RRC project manager for South Haven, I had to identify if it presently exists in the South Haven zoning ordinance. If so, show them proof of where it is, or if it does not exist, the process that we are planning on adopting, something like that. All the questions that were asked, I did locate in the zoning ordinance. So all the information is in the documentation here. If you've already read through it, you can read through it again if you so choose. But if you have any questions about it, I can ask you. Otherwise, there was several questions that I just had to do. And a lot of the supporting documentation here is just the pages from the zoning ordinance included, so you can take a look at it yourself.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any comments on this item?
Do you end up finding out later on whether or not there were any follow-up questions, or?
These are, they will contact us if there are any further questions. Typically, it's a one-question round. They go through, and it takes a couple months for them to dig through all the materials that we submit. And then they complete a thorough review of it, and resubmit it back to the city. The city then has to take a look at it, identify all the issues that are in there, search for anything that, is buried someplace, basically. Or if, like I said, if we don't have it, make the recommendation to make those changes so we can do it, so we can work our way towards certification.
Basically, I think staff's just asking that we approve of what information they provided.
Correct.
So I'll entertain a motion.
You're looking for a motion to accept this report?
Mhm.
Or
Correct.
Okay,
The review.
okay. I'll move that the commission accept this review as provided.
There's-
Second.
It's been moved and supported. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Then item 12, is relatively similar to what we just did, which is the RRC, which, as a reminder, is the Redevelopment Ready Communities Master Plan Compliance Updates.
Yes, so what I did, the master plan, everyone remembers from the process that we went through, has a section that outlines goals and objectives of the community, that things that you want to see happen within the next 5, 10, 15, 20, and, longer. What RRC does is they go through those, review those goals, make sure they're kind of on par with your zoning ordinance and everything else. One thing that they did note in our master plan is that we identified lots of goals and lots of objectives. However, we did not specify when we would like to see those goals completed or who will be completing them. So their suggestion was to identify those, basically who would be responsible in the time frame that those should be completed. There are numerous chapters basically in this master plan for goals and objectives. The only thing I submitted tonight was just the natural resources, the first section of that. I figured later on at another date, we can continue following up with it. It's not something that needs to be, 100 pages worth of stuff all up front. So basically, what I did, and if you all might look at these, I went through and identified of the 8 items in the natural resources and sensitive environments goals, who would be responsible to get these. These are fairly straightforward goals. A lot of them have to do with just updating certain things in the zoning ordinance. Those actions have to be initiated by Planning Commission. I identified Planning Commission as basically the responsible party for it, and that these goals can be completed within the next 12 months. So as staff works on this, getting this, we will continue to update things, bring in amendment proposals, and fill you in where we are to check these items off as we go.
Okay. Any questions on this? Basically saying we're going to see a lot of this coming up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you gave it all to planning.
Planning always gets it. Okay. If you don't have any questions about do we have any callers?
No callers.
No callers, okay.
I don't have a question, but I got a comment.
Okay.
Go ahead, Larry.
It seems like a year is not very much time for the work that's outlined here.
It seems like it wouldn't be enough, but I believe that we can make those text amendments to the zoning ordinance enough to identify those things. In this chapter particularly, a lot of items are making adjustments to requirements for landscaping and areas in town that, border the river, and they've identified that, some of these, the zoning ordinance basically just needs to be brushed up a little bit on it to make it a little more compliant with what the actual goals are stating in the master plan. I think I can do it, Larry.
Okay, I guess if you think you can, that's, I shouldn't worry, huh?
As I reviewed it, I felt that, 12 months was definitely sufficient to take care of those.
Excellent.
Just a question of information. The next master plan is when? In 23, is that correct?
The update, yes. It's a 5-year update.
Yeah, it's been 2 years, hasn't it?
So we still have time to get this done before the next one.
Yeah,
All
absolutely.
the stuff in there, all of it, yeah.
And then a whole new round of questions, right?
All right, anything else? No?
I guess I just noticed something here on item 6 of the, it says conduct an analysis of community and neighborhood support for height restrictions.
What page are you on?
I'm sorry, this is page 157 of 229.
Okay,
It's the last one of the,
number 6?
yeah.
That is outlining specifically the views question. Is there a right to restrict heights along the shore and the river to preserve and protect scenic views?
That'll be an interesting discussion.
Yeah.
So I see we got some extra time on that one.
I added another year to that. Yes.
Yeah, that will be interesting.
It's real interesting. I want to pull that one out.
Okay, so basically Brad's saying, here's my outline, this is how we're gonna start attacking this issue, and he's looking for approval from the board, that everybody's on board. So, I'll entertain the next motion.
I'll make this motion. I'll make a motion to approve the RRC compliance review and the responses provided by staff and the Williams and Work team.
Okay, is there support?
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. We're moving along pretty well.
Until the two.
Oh my gosh, you kissed it death.
That's why I said it now. Okay, item 13, lucky number 13. 206 Black River Street and 234 Black River Street preliminary site plan review.
Yes, 206, 234 Black River Street, as you all know, is the location of the All Seasons Marina and the Upriver All Seasons Marina storage properties. We, at the city, were approached around Christmas from a potential buyer for the property to transform these into a mixed-use planned unit development with a total of around 100 condo hotel units in them. We really do not have an accurate definition of what a condominium hotel is. I have ideas of that. They are found throughout the world. They basically, an owner buys share into the hotel, and it is rented and, treated as a running hotel. However, if the owner chooses to stay for a week or 2 weeks, however long is stipulated in their agreement, that owner then can use their suite as such. However, we're not sure if this is particularly what Mr. Hollenbeck is proposing for this site. We have not at this time received a appropriate or a good enough explanation for that. We did contact his, or attempted to contact his team to be present at this meeting so that they may be able to stand up and just give us some background information for it. We did not receive any reply from them. He stood before the Harbor Commission back in June and he understood that he could not receive an approval from them because in February, after a thorough review from staff and numerous people at Williams and Works, we wrote them a letter back outlining all the deficiencies that were, basically in regards to the master plan and the zoning ordinance. We have been told that there will be updates and a resubmittal or a new submittal for the revisions to those, to address those issues. But at this time, we have not received anything from them. At the Harbor Commission meeting, Mr. Hollenbeck did state that he was doing environmentals right now on site. They were doing some boring, and that they had found some contamination. I am unsure exactly what that was, but they did identify, so they were reassessing things. Basically, that's the overall general idea of what this is. It's a very complicated proposal. As you can see from the submissions, it's dozens and dozens and dozens of pages of plans, and from the letter, if you read through it, you can see all the items that were deficient and did not comply with our present zoning.
Okay, so basically, we have incomplete information.
Correct.
So we really can't take action on this, plus the developer and/or the team isn't even at this meeting tonight. And to your knowledge, they're still proceeding?
To my knowledge, we have not received, we have let go of the project. As far as I know, to the best of my knowledge, they are still proceeding with this.
Okay. So I guess it's up to the commission here. There's nothing we can really do with the information we have at hand. But in order to proceed towards the end of what their intentions are in this project, there will need to be some rezoning.
There will need to be some rezoning there. If they choose to go forward with the planned unit development project, there will be all the requirements of a planned unit development on top of that. Potential environmental issues there. They are planning on doing quite a bit of shore work, especially on the marina site itself. They're planning on, filling in the well that's there, and basically cease functioning as a marina altogether. The biggest thing I think that the Planning Commission should think about right now is in 2018, when the public meetings were held, when the master plan process was going on, there was a community open house specifically set in this area of town. And there were lots of ideas given out about what the community would like to see there. There are numerous different ideas. Those are in the plan. However, one of the big things that was highlighted in the master plan was that the community did not intend to see a development of condominiums on the river's edge at that great of density. The amount that is allowable on site maxes out at 12 units. So this is a considerable size difference with what the master plan has suggested and currently what the zoning ordinance allows to the underlying zoning. So I think as I'm introducing this to you, just to kind of get you a little familiar with it, I think that's a good thing to keep in mind. Consider the amount of parking that is going to be required on a site such as this, on two sites really, such as this. The mass of the buildings. These buildings are, the underlying zoning states that they have to have a 35-foot maximum height. They did propose to us almost 45 feet. As you know, a planned unit development can be a little bit more flexible. However, they did not give us any tables or explanations for a deviation from the underlying zoning requirements, because the zoning ordinance states that even in a PUD, you need to comply with underlying zoning to the best that you can, unless you receive some, you give some explanation why and then receive, an approval to do so. So parking, mass, height, traffic is another thing. It was brought up at the Harbor Commission meeting as well, considering that these sites straddle the Dykeman Avenue Bridge, that being one of only 2 Black River crossings in the city, the other being up on Baseline Road. If you're putting in 100 potential plus people in these buildings, this also includes a restaurant in it, and the traffic going in and out of the restaurant on top of the, we'll call them residents for right now, what sort of traffic and parking issues would be brought up with this? I am highly suggesting that we do and have them perform a traffic study on this, because would become a serious bottleneck at the Dykeman Avenue Bridge.
Absolutely. Okay, anybody have any comments, questions for
I have a
Brad?
question. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you. Do you
Oh,
want to?
hang on, Rosalie. If anybody wants to call in on this item, please do so now. Item 13, the 206 Black River, 234 Black River, otherwise known as the All Seasons property. Okay, Rosalie.
I don't know, this is kind of an awkward question. Do we know if he's purchased this yet?
He has not purchased this yet. He has placed an option on the property. He has told us numerous times that this option is, with contingent
Yeah.
upon approval by the city.
And he's fully aware of our master plan and what is allowable and what potentially he's going to be hit with. He is fully aware.
Yes, for many months, as I said, this letter was given to him and his project team back in the beginning of February, and they have been aware of that since then. I had spoke with the project team at Bosch Architecture, who is his design group out of Kalamazoo, and the project manager with them about this. But again, there is a long grocery list of items that need to be taken care of. But they are aware of those items. We have been told that they are planning on submitting something. However, as I said, we have not received any updates.
That fascinates me. And I know that, I know the city must be disappointed because the city was hoping to grab that and, we don't have a marina or anything now if that happens. Was any part of this, that he was going to be able to, gas up boats or anything, or whatever marinas do?
Yes, Rosalie, in the proposal, they are planning on keeping the gas and pump out.
Okay.
Those would be the only items from the marina that would remain. They would remain in the same location on site. However, presently, the fuel tank and the pump out tanks are located next to the gas pump, basically. They would have to relocate those across to the parking lot someplace behind this. He is proposing on top of the restaurant that would be proposed there as a ship store, a commercial store also on there.
I saw that. Okay, thank you.
I had a couple questions as well. First of all, with the reading that you sent us, Brad, this was the most compelling chapter. Read it a couple times. I guess I am just a little bit confused of the reason for bringing it forward to us now. Is it just informative? Are you just informing us of progress on it?
It's purely informative to bring it because it is such a large project. I felt that if we showed up on your doorstep with a site plan and said, hey, we're ready to approve, it has to go through a couple public hearings, obviously, but are we ready to approve? It would be an awful lot for you to take in all at once. I figured it would be best to give you an update of where we are with this process right now, that we have been working with him for several months now, and an idea of where we're at, where the staff-wise, where the city's at,
Sure.
and also where we understand he is at as well.
I appreciate that. That's the reason I asked, Brad, because when I read preliminary site plan review and then I read through the material, I'm not ready. Thank you very much.
Brad, I don't quite understand under recommendation number 3, what your question is there.
I basically, again, I'm talking about the density and the mass of this design of the development and how it could potentially negatively affect that area of the city, because it has been identified in the master plan as something that the community does not want to see. That's basically what I was trying to highlight there, Larry.
Okay.
Yeah, I think probably the most simple explanation is what's being tentatively proposed is not allowed there right now. So they're going to ask for a lot of concessions. And I suppose part of this is fact-finding, you know, how far will this group bend?
And I think some of it's gonna have to be very much educational as well. I mean, whether we call it a condo, whether we call it a housing unit, whether we call it a hotel room, makes a whole lot of difference, so.
And there
having-
may be a lot of contingencies that go along with that.
Yeah, so having proper descriptions of what each of those mean is gonna be very important to the plan as well.
And didn't we explore the timeshare thing with another development, and we didn't do it? Wasn't it the development off of like Baseline in Kentucky in there, those houses? Timeshares. Do we have any timeshare developments here in South Haven?
I'm
Couldn't tell you.
Harbor
Yeah.
Club does have.
Is it?
Okay,
Okay.
that is up on Baseline Road.
Right, but they got around it by doing something else, yeah. Okay.
Could I just ask Nick if he has any comments as well?
Oh,
from the
absolutely.
legal side of this? Nick, could you give us any comments that you may have on this project for All Seasons Marina?
I mean, your summary was really good, and for the planning commission's benefit, everything Brad was talking about is summarized really nicely in the packet on page 202. That's the final, I believe it's 202. The final couple pages of his letter have a summary of all the issues. The one that he didn't mention, I think the only major issue that Brad didn't mention was that one of the sites is actually too small to be processed as a PUD. Which means that the two sites can't be processed as a single PUD because they're separated by the right-of-way. And the zoning ordinance says that a single PUD application can't be done when the properties are laid out the way that these two are. All that is to say that they would probably need some type of variance to even move forward with the project on the smaller parcel, because of the building sizes and things like that, and the inability to do it as a PUD. So that's just another kind of obstacle that the developer would need to tackle here. In terms of the questions about the use, I definitely think we need a lot more information about how this is going to function. There is some distinction between a true timeshare situation and a true condo hotel situation. In a condo hotel, the way that I understand it, and again, the city doesn't have any of these at the moment. Well, actually, there's one property that arguably is set up this way. But as I understand it, a true condo hotel, the properties actually, the owners actually own a single unit within the development. It's deeded to them as a condo unit, and then they kind of sublet it, I guess you could say, back to the management company for large portions of the rental season or the summer to be rented out to others as a hotel. As opposed to the timeshare situation, we don't really own anything. It's just a contract with the owner of the property to be able to use the property for certain designated times. So yeah, it's kind of that aspect of ownership that would distinguish a condo hotel. But again, we don't have information from the developer really indicating that that's how this particular development is going to be set up, which raises some concerns. We would probably want to see some information about how frequently the owners would be using the property versus how frequently transient guests would be using them. The zoning ordinance itself suggests that it has to be used predominantly by transient guests to be considered a hotel as opposed to a condominium. So we may even want to see some type of deed restriction in order to confirm that this is actually a hotel. Because again, as Brad explained, it does make a big difference. Hotels have less parking requirements and probably less restrictive other types of requirements. As opposed, whereas if this is classified as a condominium or a timeshare, some other type of development, then they're going to be very unlikely to be able to meet the requirements for parking. So that's something we really need to dig down on. Brad's letter very expressly asks for additional information on that point, and this was back in February, and to date, as far as I'm aware, we haven't gotten any additional information. So there's a lot to be done here before this can move forward.
Okay, thank you, Nick. Anybody else?
Yes.
Okay.
Could I take this on?
Sure.
My comments aren't about necessarily the proposed use. It's the loss of the marina. If you're not a boater, you don't know that the travel lift well that's there, it's connected to a federal harbor. It's a deep water harbor. It's maintained. I think the travel lift well is 12 feet in normal depth water. It's probably 15 feet right now. Nothing like that exists above the bridge. You hit 5 feet as soon as you go to the other side of the bridge. So almost all the boats in the lower harbor, not, I shouldn't say that, all the sailboats in the lower harbor can't go up the river, past the bridge. This year they could, but in normal water situations they can't. That's why the city has been so interested over the years. Clark, you might be able to talk about this. There have been folks working with the Giesler family trying to figure out a way to come up with some sort of public-private venture. Because for anybody that comes into our harbor with a big boat, that travel lift well is the most important piece of real estate in the harbor.
Wow.
And so regardless of what is proposed upland from it, I'd just think about that as going forward. It's something that I know the Gieslers and the city leaders have been thinking about for a long time. There is, it's kind of a personal aside. I used to work in Massachusetts, and the largest marina in Massachusetts has no waterfront property. They have a travel lift well in Mattapoisett, Massachusetts, and there's a travel lift going continuously. It pulls a boat, large ships, I mean, really large trawlers, picks them up, puts them on a hydraulic trailer, which takes them out a mile to their marina, which is a converted piece of farmland. That's how important it is. The city, basically, Mattapoisett was under tremendous pressure from condo developers in the 70s and 80s to develop everything. The harbor got bought up, and they managed to hang on to the travel lift well. And it's still the busiest marina in New England, and it's got 30 feet, I think, wide of travel lift. And
Wow.
so I just want to plant that seed. And one more comment is this is something that's important to me, and I didn't know about this until I opened up my board packet. I'm kind of glad that we didn't have really anything to act on tonight, because I think that if people knew about this, I don't know how we can do it, but call it All Seasons Marine, or the former All Seasons Marine, or whatever. I imagine we can, through social media, get the word out that this is something that things. Pity the poor, not pity, but feel for the city leaders that have been working really hard for this.
Mm-hmm.
It's terribly difficult for the owners, who have got an extremely valuable piece of property and they're getting older and they want to retire and they want to sell it. And the city leaders who on the other side are trying to come up with the right thing. So it's a really difficult problem that we as a community should recognize that sometimes there's problems that go on, you don't even know that they exist. This is a big one for our community. If we lose that, people with big boats have to go someplace else to have them serviced, have them hauled, maintained, maintenance, all that stuff. So, and it may not seem like a lot, but there's a lot of people in this community that directly or indirectly benefit from all those big shiny boats that come in. That's all.
Todd, out of curiosity, the marina you referenced was it Massachusetts?
Yes.
So you have the haul out well, and then they have some property a mile away that's their actual yard for all intents and purposes. Did they have to go over a drawbridge?
No.
Okay.
No, they didn't. Yeah, it's a thing, I don't know what the answer Yes, we're,
Okay, anybody else?
I guess I haven't had a chance yet. Certainly, the master plan is the goal, and this does go outside the master plan, and, you know, if you come with a good project, then there are thoughts to look at. I think there's a good idea somewhere in here, maybe, but I'm glad we got to see this early. I'm glad that staff poured over it and had a lot of concerns up front, and I'm glad that we don't have to do anything but just look at this. I'm blessed that way, and I appreciate all the good work staff has been trying from a communication standpoint, and I know that that's going to be, you know, a tough part is communicating with the developer. And that's it.
Yeah, staff did a good job outlining the big hit points, parking, density.
Right, so if you want to kind of get outside of kind of the goal, you got to come up with a really solid plan, and we're far from that, just an idea.
Mike?
Just real quickly, I think there's two additional points. First of all, I couldn't agree more with Todd, and it's not just boaters, Todd. I think it's integral to the brand of the city that we offer those services. We're known as a boating town. I think that would really change a lot looking forward in terms of how we brand this town, how we attract tourists, whatever, so it's huge. The second thing is more, a process issue. I was surprised too when I read this. I quite frankly hadn't heard this was even going on. And I'm a planning commissioner. I was a little embarrassed. So I just hope that we can learn a little bit about city communications. That I got a lot of messages tonight from people after they read the agenda going, what the H is going on? So, you know, these don't need to be big surprises. Thank you.
Brett, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, we'll do George and then come back to you, Larry.
Just, I guess, one of the process questions I had is, so this is a preliminary site plan, but we're not gonna do anything with this. So when it comes back, if it comes back, it'll be another preliminary site plan. We don't have to go right to the final site plan. Okay, very good. One of the things I saw when I was looking through the zoning ordinances on plan unit developments is there's certain things that it seems like the goal of the plan unit development is to try to make something good that doesn't necessarily fit the zoning ordinance. And I was wondering, have you gotten any inkling from any of the project team on whether they're gonna do something like have, you know, a nice walkway along the river for general public use or anything like that?
There has been, I mean, there has been items mentioned like that, but nothing concrete. Nothing concrete with this. Again, what we typically do when we look at a planned unit development is we take what the underlying zoning is, all the requirements that are required for that, or the regulations required for that, and then they create a table of all the items in there that basically they don't fit or do not choose to fit, and what they are asking to apply for or to seek approval for, and they have to give us a good explanation of why they would like to do that, and then potentially some concessions that they're willing to give the city back in regards to giving them an approval to kind of bend the rules on what the underlying zoning is. That's a very simple way of explaining what a PUD is.
Because it seems like there's a lot of guidelines here, rules that talk about dedicated open spaces and, you know, making sure that not just automobile traffic, but pedestrian traffic and non-motorized traffic flows well in this area. And I didn't really see anything about that in this.
Correct. None of those items have been touched upon with this preliminary plan that they had mentioned. As you stated, this will be, if it gets to that point, another preliminary review. And staff will continue to review it until we think that it meets the requirements necessary to first be approved by the Harbor Commission because it sits on the Black River, and then proceed on to Planning Commission to take their first look at the preliminary plan. Then it's Planning Commission's job to look through it and come up with ideas, anything that they may wish the developer to consider before they move to their final site plan.
Larry?
The traffic study seems to me that was going to be essential on this, and it's not going to be a simple thing for someone to do. Is there anything we can do to get that started at this point, rather than waiting until they come to us with the first submittal of a site plan?
We could try and discuss that with Mr. Hollenbeck. However, I think at this juncture, he is more focused on if he can receive city approval, then make a purchase on the property before he starts considering other things like that. That's kind of where I think he is right now. He wants to see if the city will play, basically with him before he gives the thumbs up to purchase the property, and then begin to move forward. I think that's where he's at.
I'd hate to see the project held up because of something as simple, well, not as simple as the traffic plan, but because of that requirement.
Yeah. It definitely would be, we could get that started ASAP, once we get to that point where he is bringing preliminary plans in that are, reasonably acceptable.
But see, we're not even looking, we don't even know what the plan truly is right now. So, what we're assuming is they're gonna ask for higher density, right? And to George's points, the higher density is gonna equal them having to have pedestrian walkways, green space, the whole series of the list. So, what we're gonna need to know is what kind of density, and then we go to Larry's question, well, if you have X amount of people and X amount of cars, how does that affect the space, and is it even doable? We don't know yet, so we're waiting, the developer has to get a little more tangible with what their plan is. So everything else is conjecture at this point and not really worth worrying about. So unless there's anything else, we'll just keep moving on. Okay, no other calls?
No calls.
Okay. Item 14. The STR, which is the short for short-term rental ad hoc committee discussion. Brad, you want to cue that one up?
Yeah, this was a discussion that was conducted by the Planning Commission back on January 9th. And it was basically discussing the ratio that establishes the number of additional registrations available. And currently, the ratio is 1 to 4. And there was a discussion put forward along with some supporting material that other staff members here at the city supplied the Planning Commission back then about altering that ratio and kind of going through there. So that's the real basic gist of where we're back. We're just kind of revisiting that discussion that was held a few months back to continue speaking about it.
Okay. Anybody on the committee, which was what, Mike and Rosalie and Todd? Anything you'd like to add at this point?
Yeah, I'd just like to comment on page 206. The three or four paragraphs down.
All right, wait, so you're on page 206.
Page 206.
Concept 2.
Concept 2. There's a thing there with a lot of statistics in it. And it refers to the resulting cap that we had talked about was lower than the number of registered units already in existence so this concept is not workable in practice. And I stopped and I looked at that a few times. If something is, these are annual permits, and that if the community were desired to reduce them, that desire doesn't make a proposal unworkable. These permits expire, and could we, my feeling, I would, when I look at the map of the neighborhoods, our classic old neighborhoods, with 35% of them being businesses essentially, or short-term rentals, that's something I'd like to reduce. I think that's a goal we should be able to say out loud. This is not something that's good for our community. Now, which is different than saying that there isn't an economic reason for that to happen. I'm using the word community deliberately. It's not good for our community for all those houses to not have families in them. So when I just would like to just emphasize that the concept can be lower than what we have now and still be a workable idea.
So,
I guess,
hang on, Nick, a second, would you?
Yeah, if I could just kind of quickly clarify what was meant by that statement in the staff report.
Okay.
All that was meant by that is that we can't, I guess, legally take away the registrations that already exist. So it's not workable in the sense that you can't immediately get to the number that the formula produces just by changing the formula in that way. You'd have to wait until people who have registrations voluntarily give them up, and then eventually maybe you could reduce the number to the number that the formula produces. But essentially what that formula would mean is just that there wouldn't be any new short-term rentals for the foreseeable future, because my memory is pretty substantially under the current number what the formula produces if you rewrite it in the way that was discussed as concept 2. So we could implement this option, but effectively what it would mean is no new short-term rentals for quite some time until the demographics of the city change.
Okay, thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
So,
I have a,
hang on a second. There's 3 of you on the committee, and I notice in this report, there's 3 concepts. So my first question to the ad hoc committee is do you have consensus on one of these concepts, or is the reason there's 3 is because there's 3 of you on that committee?
No, that was what the staff presented.
Okay.
And, to Todd's comments, I didn't take the same approach. The approach that I took was that it was the yearly review of the short-term rentals, that we had an opportunity to review it, and we found that the denominator was not correct. It wasn't based on correct numbers. It included apartments and subsidized housing. So the right thing to do is to take those out. And once you take those out, it changes the amount of houses that are available. And yes, we are over that. Like Todd, though, I don't agree that number 2 is not an option. Number 2 is the option, as far as I'm concerned. Yes, we're over. Yes, I forgot our lawyer's first name.
Nick?
Yeah, Nick, I was Mr. Curcio. Of course, we can't take, permits away from people. It'll be through attrition. They won't either apply, or we'd have to look at something for next year that the first 412 get their business permits. But we had a bad number to begin with, and we're correcting it. It's that simple, whether you believe that we have too many in this community or not. That is, to me, not even an issue. We had a bad denominator. So I think number 2 is the right thing to do. And the reason there were 3 is because that's what staff presented. Mike?
And just to clarify, staff presented those based on feedback they had received from you?
Yeah, it was all- it was
Regarding the
conversation.
process, correct? You asked them to come up with some concepts. So it wasn't that staff handed you those concepts?
No.
It was, okay,
It was very organic.
okay, very good.
It actually emerged, I would say it actually emerged during the discussions,
Yeah.
where the different options became apparent. And by the way, I mean, that was a great process to be part of. It happened very organically with new data. Excuse me. I do agree with Rosalie and Todd that number 2 was more in line with, I think, our thinking. But to your point,
You're gonna have to put your mask back on now.
I know.
Do I need to take your temperature?
Excuse me, that's true. It's actually, just water went down the wrong pipe.
All right. Take your time.
I was not unsympathetic to number 3, if, with the argument being made that said we could set a hard cap. But I wanted to go back to and just remind people why this meeting happened. It was not to relitigate the issue. This was simply a question of how we use numbers. And I think our position going into this meeting is, by no plan, by including the apartments and anything called a dwelling unit into the formula, artificially inflated the density of short-term rentals in our neighborhoods. Because the additional units that would be available because of the dwelling units in the apartment complexes weren't going to be used in the apartment complex. They were going to be pushed out to our neighborhoods. So it was apples and oranges. We also had quite a discussion on, well, you know, it really is difficult to pull those out. And yet we were able to pull PUDs out. We were able to pull connected condos out. It might not be easy, but that doesn't mean it's not necessary. So I think number 2 was pretty much where we left it. We did not have a chance, Tim, nor did we even introduce it to talk about our consensus during that meeting.
Okay. So any further comments from the ad hoc committee right now?
I guess I just wanted to add, I was, with the raising it to 500, the third concept, I think that would be a dangerous thing to do, given the climate of our residents. Raising the number, I just don't think would be prudent. Given, yes, we're at what, where are we, 437? I think, the planning commission worked really hard at, the 1-to-4 ratio, and not to everybody's satisfaction, but I think it's a good one to keep with the correct numbers. I guess that's just all I wanted to add.
Okay. Now, we've heard from the ad hoc committees. Anybody on the board at large have any comments or questions?
I have one,
Okay.
or two, or
Art?
any, and I appreciate all the work. There was a lot that was here. I'm just wondering, with the review of the short-term rental, coming up with alternatives, is that really our role as a planning commission? I mean, I don't know if, city council said, hey, we need to do some changes in numbers, here's a formal request, or if we got an email from the mayor to, the chairman or to staff to say, this is the desire of council. We put a lot of work into the short-term rental ordinance, and then that went to council, and there was work, and then I think it came back, and then went back again, and we passed it. And it's been going on for a year or two, and we've been looking at the numbers, but I'm just not sure if it's, our role to decide, hey, we should make some changes to the short-term rental ordinance and send that to city council unless they have requested this body to do that work. So I'm just not sure where, the ad hoc stuff is coming from, because I haven't, and I tried to find it, and I've only been back on, I had that little short period of time where I wasn't on planning or council where the desire was to come up and talk about changes, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not aware of a official request from city council, which is the normal status quo way this is done, as you know.
We just had this training on how
Yeah,
boards meet.
we had one or two that were on the ad hoc committee that asked to have an ad hoc committee. That's how this started, so.
May I answer that,
my
though?
knowledge.
So we were asked to create a short-term rental ordinance, and we did. And within the ordinance, there's a review. And in the review, we found a problem. Wouldn't you consider it due diligence to bring that problem to light and fix it?
I would think if we,
And not because somebody asked you, but as the responsibility of a planning commission, regardless of your title?
I think if you found an issue, we probably want to bring it to council and then ask them, you know, if that's an issue that they want us to deal with.
I take responsibility a little bit more personally, but, so this would be more palatable, I can't say that word, palatable, I can't say it. If I were to bring this to one of the councilmen to bring this up?
Well, I think we would, the ad hoc committee would take it, and then we would just bring it to them, saying, we think maybe there's a density or a numbers issue. Is this, you know, it's, I think, city council ordinance. And if we found an issue, then maybe we should request to them, hey, is there something, is this an issue you want dealt with? So I don't think it's, I don't think it's our role to come up with trying to fix those issues, because we don't know if those are issues that council wants to deal with.
But if something's wrong, something's wrong.
What's wrong in your view, but I haven't heard that from others on council that it's necessarily wrong.
Okay, well, all right, so let's just, well, it's done, so I apologize for not bringing it to council. I apologize. And I will bring it to council. What do we have to do then to move forward?
I'm going to suggest one other thing, too. I don't look at this as offering new policy. The issue is about the definition of what is considered a dwelling unit in this town. When we decided density, the issue of density we worked on. Matter of fact, we were very creative. We chose to cap density using a ratio. We are the only city I can find in Michigan that chose to do that. Every other city uses distancing. We chose to do ratio. I went along with it because we did deliberate, diligent, hard work getting to that point. However, I think when you mention 4-to-1 ratio, the average person in our neighborhood thinks they're going to look at their street and say, there's 5 houses on my street. One of those is going to be a rental. Well, we know that's not true because there's going to be some streets that are more popular and they're going to be more dense, and we get that as well. But then you add 300 some units that can never be used as a rental. They can't be, either by law or practicality. I mean, who's going to put a short-term rental in an apartment complex? It's not going to happen. All of a sudden, and I don't think we intended that. What I'm saying is it was an unplanned consequence of not defining that well that added an additional 70 permits. I don't think it was that high. 60 permits into the pool. 60 permits, which is far more density. Had we not even attempted to try and done anything about density, I doubt we would have been any more dense than adding another 60. So I don't look at this as relitigating the policy and offering anything to council other than to say, wait a minute, our formula was probably not correct in the data that it used to come up with the ratio.
And that's a valid statement and a valid analysis. I'm just saying that how do we then take that, get that to council so we can get a formal request to put together something that they can look at and bring back to potentially change what's in and outside the formula if that's what they want to look at.
think what Clark is saying is if the case is made to city council and city council as a majority has consensus that this needs to be explored, then we head down that route. But if that's not the case, then we're just wasting time. Right? Maybe there's more to it, but that's kind of how I look at it.
I guess, Larry, or Tim, I guess the thing I'm trying to avoid is for the whole issue to come back up again. And I think that's a very, very possible outcome of this, and it's gonna be over 60 units.
Yeah.
And whether we're willing to do that, or to take a look at it and say, it's not reasonable to think that an apartment is going to be used as a short-term rental, and it shouldn't be included in the formula.
Well, I think if, just as you said, a lot of cities do it different than we're doing it.
All cities do it differently.
Right. But I think how we looked at this was we're going to be fair to our entire population. We're going to look at this city border to city border. And the data we were going to use was census data for dwellings to make it simple. And then you started getting, not you, but us, we started getting into, oh, we're going to exempt PUDs. We're going to exempt this. Those are all dwellings.
Right?
And that's where I think, when it's push comes to shove and we really have the main discussion, that is probably something myself personally, I'm going to make a point of. Because it seems to me, this is America and we want it fair as much as possible for everybody. But here we go again. We're going right back to R1 and we're concentrating there, not the whole city. So for me, that's where a lot of this argument's going to go towards. Now,
I agree. That was my other, if you read the notes.
so that's the danger here.
And
We
that was
are
my
gonna
other
get back
objection that
into-
says, look, you can't convince me, we can't, it's unfair to look at a specific group and say we're not gonna include them. And yet we did that twice.
Yes.
So if we're not going to take a look at how we figured out what a dwelling unit is and whether the ad hoc committee had any reasonable ideas behind it, then the second thing I would ask us to do is to go back and put the PUDs back in the formula, put the attached condos back in the formula. You can't do it for some people and not for others. That's not fair.
The simpler you keep the formula, the easier it's going to be to carry the formula out. So.
And the fairness.
Yeah, and fairness, absolutely fairness. So, I don't know. I've spoke, Clark spoke.
Yep.
Amy, do you have anything on this?
Well, I wasn't around, but my first thought is exactly what Michael just said. Like, hold on, why do you get to decide that apartments will never be rented out? How do you know somebody didn't list their apartment on Airbnb? You're making some assumptions there that I don't know are valid. If you're gonna count them in, count everybody in, and then work from there. But either way, bringing this up again brings the whole issue right back around again. No matter what, whether we're trying to fix it or not, it's coming back out again.
Sure will.
Well, it's good for you. You missed the first round, so you can,
But Amy, just to clarify, these are subsidized apartments we're talking about?
True.
And River Ridge.
Yeah, okay, I get River
I mean,
Ridge,
let's get
because
real
that's
here.
really not it's really not it's more of an
But
assisted
it is a dwelling unit.
apartment, but they are dwellings.
yeah.
I don't know, maybe somebody would sublet their apartment out. I mean, I think not as necessarily as a vacation rental, but somebody needs somewhere to live for a week. Your couch surf, I mean, there's some definitions of vacation rentals there. But I think you're making assumptions when you're just counting people out and you're not taking the whole thing, the whole picture into,
Well, it's against the law to sublet a subsidized apartment.
well, that doesn't mean it doesn't happen. Right? I mean, it is against the law. It's against the law to do a lot of things. It's against the law not to, but it doesn't mean it doesn't happen, is my point. So we're making assumptions.
I guess then why were we allowed to do an ad hoc committee then?
Hang on, Rosalie. I got George and Larry who may want to speak, and then I'll come back to that.
I was around for the first round and the second round, and I'm exhausted.
I hear that. George?
So I guess, my thought on this is, as the whole short-term rental issue came up, my thought, being on city council, was that there's arguments, good arguments on both sides of the situation. And what we're trying to do, and what I thought the planning commission did a good job in doing, was trying to strike a balance that, like you said, didn't really make anybody happy, but it did, I think, give us a good foundation to build on, and it gave us some data which we could use. And now that we're getting some runtime on that data, we're getting some insights, I think, that are beneficial. But, you know, I still think that we're not too far off from what I would consider to be the right balance. And so I'm inclined to, if we're gonna do something, I'd go with something, making it more simplified, instead of, you know, trying to get into this, why some dwelling units are in and some are out. You know, maybe a cap is the, now that we have a little more runtime, of course, now with the coronavirus thing, the numbers we're getting maybe in this season might not be a good litmus of what's going forward, but, you know, maybe now may not be the right time to revisit this, but after we get a little more runtime, yeah, we definitely want to use the data that we've been gathering and try to make things better, and again, try to improve that balance.
Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
Was there a provision for when we would revisit this again? I mean, was
No.
there, through city council, nobody ever said, well, we'll look at this in a year and see where we're at, or 2 years?
Honestly, I feel like we just got done with this yesterday, and I don't think there was any hurry
10
for
years?
any of us to look at it again.
Okay.
But, yeah, so, and then Rosalie, to your question, why the ad hoc committee was formed, it's because some of you asked to form it, so that's why. And tonight, Clark, I mean, I get your point as a past city councilman. Usually there is a protocol, and you're right, that wasn't exactly followed. At this point, since George is the council liaison to this committee, I guess it'd be up to you to bring this up to council and ask that question, if we should go any further with this.
Sure, I can do that, yeah.
Well, it'll be in the minutes. So I hope, as I'm sure the council reads their packet, that it'll catch their eye. And maybe you can have a discussion or something, whatever you do.
One last
Yeah.
thing, Tim, if I might.
Yeah, absolutely.
First of all, I keep coming back to this because I'm really proud of the work we did. We spent a lot of time.
That was tough.
I'm really happy with the outcome that we achieved. I'm simply, again, arguing that I think there was misunderstanding on the process. Now, because of that, this earlier thing we discussed, if we add 100 condo/hotel units, that's another 25 licenses for short-term vacation rentals. I think you're also going to impact how favorable the planning commission might look at affordable housing for apartments, if it's gonna, again, jack up the number of short-term vacation rentals that, like it or not, a significant portion of the city is opposed to. So we need to be careful.
And, you know, I remember you and I have had several discussions, you know, throughout that process. And the big one we always came back to was we'd have to have a denominator that was consistent across the board and wasn't subject to a lot of dismantling. And that's how we came up, well, whatever the census was, we'll try to use that. And it's not so discriminatory. So I think we still got to stick with that somehow, and if anything else is done, it still has to relate to that number. Otherwise, it's just arbitrary.
Yeah, so it may be, again, it's to the council, I guess, but it may be a hybrid of 2 and 3, who knows?
Yeah. So I don't think there's a big hurry. I mean, we're working towards an end goal, and, you know, like Clark, if he wants a little more protocol procedure, George can deliver that, and it'll come back, just like I suppose we're gonna see all seasons come back. You know, it's just a process.
And I don't think the work that the ad hoc committee has done is lost either.
No.
The same thing.
A lot of good information
If
here.
it comes back from city council, there's part of the analysis already done.
Sure. Appreciate that, Laura.
And thank you for that.
Because what we don't want to do, and until Clark mentioned that, we don't want to do a bunch of work and then they're like, nah, no thanks. Right?
Like, maybe on all seasons.
Right? Right.
I'd like just to say one more thing.
Sure.
You mentioned the work that the ad hoc committee did in reviewing this again and reading through it again this afternoon. The work that staff did on this
Right.
was just
All about
remarkable. I remember when they
staff,
came
thank
back with this, I'm like, wow, how much time did that take? Yeah, it's just amazing number crunching and the way, it was more than we asked for
It
from
was
staff.
incredible.
So I think it's a worst case scenario, we've got a really good snapshot in time for if somebody decides to act on this in any way in the near or distant future.
And I'll also add, there are some other communities that are starting to look at short-term rentals now.
Big time.
And I actually did receive a couple phone calls within the last 2 weeks asking me how we reached a consensus. And so I thought that was interesting.
And to that, Tim, I thought this month's Michigan Planners Association magazine,
Oh, this was a really good issue this month.
and it related directly to this issue, too.
Yeah. And I especially like the issue on tourism.
Yep, that's what I meant.
Yeah. And the graph. Yeah. We should probably talk about that
I
sometime.
thought that was great.
Okay. Anything else on this? Yeah, we're doing pretty well. Okay, on time. So I think that's it. So for that item, we're just looking for George, Rosalie, you're gonna go to council and just get a little more,
I'm gonna leave it to George.
okay. You
I
good
don't
with
wanna-
that,
yeah, I don't want to
George?
mess up protocol.
You good with that, George?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, George.
All right, so that leaves us with Larry's amendment to the approval of the agenda, which is, no, not yet. We do have comments, don't we?
Yes.
But I think we've had a lot, but anyway, I'll start with Amy and we'll
Oh,
go.
gosh, I hate being first. I don't know about you guys, but I drove by in my boat, super excited to see the splash pad. Haven't seen anybody out there yet because it wasn't open, but it really looks nice. And my daughter said, wow, that looks just like Friends Goodwill. And I said, that's because it is, honey. So, and she's only 20, so bless her heart. But it looks really nice, and I was super excited to see it.
It was being well used today when I drove by.
Was it? Awesome.
Okay.
The kids seemed really happy.
I'll bet. It's so hot today.
Not only it's amazing, hopefully people can go by now and see all of the trees that are still there. So, no comment. This worked out okay considering this new era of COVID.
This is sort of a business comment. The Wilson Street one that we talked about that Rosalie mentioned earlier, I wondered how it went, and Paul Frederick's a friend, so I called him the next day and said that I wondered how he felt about it. He just at the end of the conversation was that if he had been here at the podium, he thinks that there would have been a significantly different outcome. I agree with him that there was a lot of difficulty that we had understanding what he was applying for and how we reacted, and we didn't. He must have been tearing his hair out at the other end of the communication system, listening to us talk
Yeah,
about
didn't he?
something that he wasn't really intending us to talk about. But sort of, I guess, when I thought about that application process, he was thinking of seeing 2 or 3 or 4 people a day, and all we did was we looked at the maximum that he looked at and imagined that every day and how it would impact the neighbors. And I think about that piece of property, and I mentioned this during the application process, that could, it's a big, fairly good-sized piece of property, that could convert to a short-term rental tomorrow, and a full-time business could be run there and make the neighbors absolutely miserable. I guess I would just ask that you think about that. I don't know if he's coming back. He was discouraged when I talked to him last month, and I'd really love us to encourage small home-based businesses. It's we're in a kind of a new world, encouraging people to work from home. I don't know how, but I'll be thinking about Paul and his application and how this commission can, I don't want to say bend, but try to accommodate different sort of requests that might come in like that. His was more from an external force, not a decision, but we may get people that are coming in and saying, look, I'd like to expand my home occupation, so anyway, just think about that, please.
Okay. Larry.
No further comments.
George.
No comments.
Rosalie.
No comment.
Mike.
Actually, some good news, I think, just
Awesome.
for the work that we do sometimes does pay off. There's a lot of energy going on around the Overton project right now. And it's positive energy, including scores. We have Senior Corps of retired executives now has been tapped in this city through the work of Larry Hettinger, who did our economic development. And Jim, excuse me. Larry Hennig, I'm looking at. Pardon me, I'm Paul Neese in the paper, so you'll understand that.
Yeah.
But one of the things we're looking at, which is very cool, is a possible expansion and improvement of A&D Discount as a neighborhood grocer, which would fit so well into the idea of a walkable community there. Getting a lot of support from a lot of people, a lot of help from a lot of experts that are giving their time free. So I think there's reason to be very pleased in the work that we've done and how a neighborhood just might reemerge as a real vital part of our economy.
Okay. Well, I want to thank everybody for coming out. This is our first in-person meeting in quite a while, and I think staff did a great job of setting everything up for us to be able to conduct this meeting. And I thought we'd have a few people in the audience this evening, but we only had the engineer, right? Is he an engineer from Avonmarsh? That was it. So I guess that's the way it's going to go in the future. And just as a reminder, as we have these meetings, we're still going to allow you to call in from home until we can have meetings like we used to have, which I don't see in the foreseeable future. So keep 637-0777 on your speed dial. And with that, I'll entertain the motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Been moved and supported. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. This meeting's adjourned. Have a good evening and weekend.